Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday. It's January. It's the 15th of January. It's 2026. Put it all together, and you could just read the date, normally. It's January 15th, 2026. Time for another show. Things progressing unfortunately, as they were yesterday. Doesn't seem to have turned around instantly and resulted in global peace. So that's too bad. We'll update you on the latest developments and all of that. I see, looks like everything is A-OK on Justice's side, with a couple of notes about, I guess, what's on his mind. This is an interesting one that he sent me first, because I had this, a similar thought the other day. I never got around to expressing it in the same way. But this is of interest. Things happening in Minneapolis and, of course, elsewhere, but chiefly, and I think most painfully right now in Minneapolis, with the ICE/Border Patrol surge there. And I guess probably, they're doing everything they can on the Trump side of the ledger there to try to make it worse and put even more people there harassing people. But one of the things I've noted, I think the mayor took note of this, that in some cases when they are snatching people out of their cars, which seems to be their favorite MO, they're taking the people away and they're just abandoning the cars. They're leaving the cars in the middle of the street, creating an enormous problem for the city. And apparently the tow trucks in the city are running 24/7, just moving abandoned vehicles out of the way of the flow of traffic. And in at least one case, I think the mayor mentioned that they don't even bother to put the car in park when they take the occupant, and in some cases have left these cars coasting down the street only to then crash into parked cars on the side of the street on a main drag somewhere. So clearly, the mayor was saying it's not that they say they're here for our safety and protection, and that clearly cannot be the case if this is the practice. But Justice was putting it, they've also left behind, of course, emptying out houses. They left behind kids. They've left behind pets, all sorts of things. It looks like the rapture out there, or some sort of weird reverse rapture. And, so far, none of the logical underpinnings of what they're doing in Minneapolis have held up. And they're not going to, because they're not telling you what the real aim of these operations are. And by the way, I won't burden you with whether or not any of it is a distraction from anything else. At this point, it's all the same. But I found that rather interesting. And then to see Justice make the same observation, well, yeah. Anyway, all sorts of explosive stories all over the place. Very difficult for us to pin down any 1, 2, 5, or 16 of them as the most important of the day. But we do this show on a linear time scale, so we have 2 hours for it. Greg's only got 1, so imagine his predicament with the stories he's got on hand. All right, well, you know what? Since we said it was a reverse left behind or reverse rapture here, we'll ring out the old reverse fanfare for Greg. I liked when we put this one together in reverse. Whoosh, and here we are in,
Paul is dead.
All right, I don't know where it zaps you to. If you're reverse raptured out of Minneapolis, where do you land? I don't know. But I hope it's somewhere nice with a beach and everybody
St.
gets
Paul?
to recover. Oh, well, they don't have a beach, but nice enough. That's happening, actually, by the way. They're snatching people out of Minneapolis. And then when they finally, for whatever reason, I wonder what process by which they become convinced that they've actually taken a U.S. citizen. I think they just get bored with the person. But they're dumping them
and drop them by the wayside. And that's happened on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, they're dumping them wherever they run out of patience with punching them or something, and get out. I don't know. I'm not certain what's going on.
I got 4 stories I want to mention.
All right.
And then we're not even going to talk about that first. We're going to talk about a 5th. So
Okay.
Aaron Blake says, 1, threatening to take over Greenland. 2, threatening to strike Iran, although that's been dialed back overnight. Number 3, wielding apparent control over Venezuela, which is really unclear because I don't know what that even means. And number 4, of course, which is the big story, threatening invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy troops in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And everybody
Red
understands.
Dawn.
Everybody,
Orange
including
Dawn.
the people of Minneapolis, understand that throwing flash bang grenades at protesters
Yes.
and such, all of this is designed to incite violence where they can claim that they have to, throw in the National Guard or whatever if Tim Walz doesn't take it first.
I'll throw in the National Guard for
Remarkably,
free.
both Jacob Frey and the mayor of Minneapolis and Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, both had addresses to their state. I have video on that a little bit further down in that list I sent you. It's got a yellow video thing.
Looky, yeah. All right.
Look for.
Yeah, and by the way, as you mentioned, the flashbang grenades, one of the interesting developments I've noticed is among the many things happening to the ICE agents there, they are falling down a lot on the ice, the actual ice.
Yes.
And they're finding themselves, of course, tangled up with people that they're trying to grab or just falling into the crowds, whatever, from the ice. But a new trend is munitions, essentially, that the ICE agents lose on the way or leave behind on the way. And so we've had falling ICE
Check
agents.
every bathroom in Minneapolis.
Yeah, basically. So people are showing on video like a ICE guy falls down on the ice, gets up, scrambles away, leaves behind the magazine from his rifle.
Yes.
They've had a guy fall down and have the flashbang grenades he was carrying pop off of his, belt and leave him behind. And now protesters are like, I guess we have flashbang grenades now. That's not good.
When you have dumb, out of shape, high school rejects who you hire for ICE because there's nobody else. Although I heard that some of the Proud Boys, Enrico Tarrio and maybe some others, might be ICE agents now.
Yeah, that's a controversial subject among the pedants of onlineism. But yeah,
well, not just that. Jamie Raskin asked the Department of Homeland Security whether or not any January 6 people are involved.
It's a good question.
I think it's right now. It's a formal
almost
question
impossible for it not to be the case.
Yeah, but it was a formal question that was put to HHS, so it's not just online randos.
That's right. I'm saying it because I think last night and a day or two before, on similar grounds, I said, I remember distinctly being told that this was conspiratorial thinking to even ask this question. So I guess the circle of conspiracy theory nuts has widened now to include members of Congress, which I guess it always has. But this time, Jamie Raskin. I don't know about the Enrique Tarrio, the validity of that one, because that one was a little bit weird. The list was a little bit weird. But
I know. I don't know if it's true, but I think it's a legitimate question to ask. And by the way, Jay Caspian posted this yesterday, and I was laughing and sending it around to my friends.
Okay.
We really don't make enough of the fact that the boomer resistance libs were way more correct than everyone else. Scoreboard is crazy right now.
Yeah. Those dirty effing hippies, as they used to call them way back when.
DFHs, yes.
Yeah. Now they've evolved into resistance and resistance moms and resistance boomers and whatever. Yeah. People are right.
But never mind that. Where are the Epstein files? That's what I want.
Right. That's a good question too. All right. While we're talking, I'm working on queuing up. Was there more than one video or just?
Yeah, there were two. One was
I
Jacob
will keep
Frey,
working.
and the other one
So
was Tim Walz. The Tim Walz one
I see Tim.
was a long speech, but a very short comment. Maybe you can play that one first.
Oh, okay. Well, are they near each other? These two videos?
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, they flank each other. There's the text of what they said, and the actual videos are on top and on the bottom.
I don't want to roll Tim Walz without also having the other one ready, because he's only like 33 seconds. So, all right, I'm getting ready. I think everything should be on mute while they queue up. So, all right, I can zoom back and do Tim Walz's thing first. Okay. Here we go. Thanks, Tim. May I call you Tim? All right.
Tonight I want to share another way you can help.
Umano.
Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
Oh,
Tonight
that is something. And
I thought that was pretty significant.
Symbolically, it was only in the left channel, that speech, at least in my headphones.
Not the right channel.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it was the right channel, correct-wise.
Right, because if it were the right channel, it would be CBS.
True, they got plenty of them now. All right. So, all right, and I'm ready with the other one whenever we segue
Jacob
to
Frey.
it.
You could do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I
It's
now
also relatively short. It's a minute and a half.
feel like I kind of hope that one comes through all in the right channel because I have this weird imbalance now going on, and I feel like I want the other. Well, all right, let's go.
There's still a lot
Stereo.
that we don't know at this time, but what I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in.
That is true.
And at the same time, we are trying to find a way forward to keep people safe, to protect our neighbors, to maintain order. And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another.
We can.
Why
we
are
don't
we
want
put
to be.
in this position?
It's not good.
We're put in this position because we have approximately 600 police officers in Minneapolis, far fewer that are able to work at any given time. And there are approximately 3,000 ICE agents in the area. 3,000. The 600 police officers that we have are charged on any given day with investigating crime, stopping homicides from taking place, preventing carjackings. That's the work of a police officer in a city.
Well,
Meanwhile, we have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with Border Control, are creating chaos.
More than just chaos. He's doing the right thing. I just want to point out, we got police officers in Minneapolis charged, an interesting way he puts it, with stopping homicides and stopping carjackings.
In other words, stopping what ICE is doing.
Yeah, and it's like, but we have 3,000 ICE agents. They're
Doing
not
these
creating chaos. They're doing the homicides and the
carjacking.
I can't believe that was right there. But he's being very cautious, given that what he's saying is incredible. Yeah, there's a little bit more to it, but I think we got the gist of it certainly. And
you did. Yeah, I don't think you have to play the rest. But
it's only like 6 more seconds.
The point is, both Tim Walz and Jacob Frey have just made the point about what's going on.
Yes.
Why aren't you fighting back?
Grave.
Well, they laid it out. Well, what are we supposed to do? Well, they laid that out too.
we have them on tape asking that question, but they're doing it much more politely, I think, than that. But it's a good question. And goes back to the point yesterday of the size and scale of Minneapolis versus some of the other cities that they've done these surges in. 600 total police officers on the Minneapolis police force, complete, and 3,000 ICE agents, and the threat to send even more. Not at all the same scale as when they showed up in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, many more police. And not that anybody ever actually suggested that they were going to roll out the police forces there to fight ICE. But, I mean, you got to be scratching your head there. I know I've seen at least one or two videos where they've recovered somebody who's just been snatched and then beaten up and released by ICE. And the people are saying, like, there's got to be someone we can call. Like, they can't just come and grab people and beat them up, but I guess we can't call the police for some reason.
So to use an outdated term, ICE is there jonesing for some violence.
Yeah.
And the Minnesotans are doing their best to not give them the pretext. And so far that's working, even though it's messy. So basically that's what's going on there. And I just thought the response from actual responsible politicians who happen to be Democratic, was remarkable, and I think really worth talking about.
Yes. Oh, so, did you see the what's his name? The Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche responding to that on X, posting that actually those two speeches we just played you are, in his view, acts of terrorism and insurrection. themselves. So just to show you where we are with the administration on that. Yeah. So watch out, I guess.
Right. So now we talked yesterday a lot about polls. There's now 5 different polls that are out, all showing the same thing, which is that
maybe they're right.
A remarkable number of people have seen this.
Yes.
And
the Renee Good video.
They've seen the video,
right?
And Greg Sargent has this in his piece on the New Republic. Remarkable, 81% working class and 83% of young voters have seen the video of Renee Good's killing. Per new data I have obtained, Greg Sargent. Majority of working class disapproves of ICE enforcement, ICE brutalities breaking through big time, and he has some thoughts about that. Trump and MAGA are operating from their own theory of the case. Recall the Washington Post's recent report on ICE's massive $100 million mobilization push. The agency is recruiting heavily with ads targeting fans of USC fights, NASCAR, people who dabble in guns, people showing an interest in military recruitment. These are MAGA-adjacent information spaces.
Proud boy adjacent.
And these messages are meant to appeal to what John Gantz calls the mob elements of the GOP base. So Trump World is consciously selling these denizens of vision of ICE as a new form of patriotic national service, portraying the mass purging of immigrants as an act of national purification and renewal. But the evidence is strong that this is not how it's being received among even the people Trump World hopes to reach. For MAGA, all the turmoil and violence is a feature, not a bug. The MAGA mode of politics is about unleashing ethnic hatred, but it's causing most people to recoil in horror. It's penetrating deeply into information spaces where Democrats fear to tread, but they can now go on them and say the answer is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan said about ICE, are we really going to be the Gestapo? And the answer is no, we aren't.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
But that's what he said. Again, Rogan reaches people, Democrats don't. And for Joe Rogan, who has never liked ICE, we've talked about that on the show many times, to say, what is going on here? Are we the Gestapo? The answer is yes, we are. And that's
Joe.
Not good, and that's what's going on.
Right. So fight him, Joe. Somebody's got to fight him. Maybe Joe will fight him. Okay. It's kind of spooky, scary, fascinating.
It is. Let me read you some other pieces that are ICE adjacent that go along with this. This is from Puck. Support for ICE is collapsing. Outside the right-wing echo chamber, polls tell the true story of an unprecedented drop in support for Trump's immigration agency. It swung 30 points in 12 months, 30 points in a year. That's a lot.
Yeah.
The comments don't signal any kind of widespread anti-Trump mutiny over ICE, and no prominent Republican has crossed the president on the issue.
Right.
But most people have seen the clip, and of those who saw the clip, 50% said the shooting was not justified. Most say the ICE officer should face criminal charges. Only 30% of Americans said the killing was justified. To say explicitly what is now obvious, Americans don't like ICE, period.
Yeah.
In just a single year, ICE's reputation has collapsed so dramatically, this is Peter Hamby writing in Puck, and so quickly that it would be a punchline if it weren't for ICE agents' tragic real-world behavior. After Trump's inauguration, ICE had a plus 16 net favorability. It's now minus 14, 30-point swing, an unheard of political collapse.
ICE in the toilet for sure. I did see a couple of days ago, Grudgy the Whale, grudging one on, made a good point, which was that, ICE plummeting and, we should be campaigning on that, et cetera. But pointing out the problem for ICE PR wise, just bottom line is ICE is an agency only does bad. ICE has never helped anyone. You never see anybody saying, thanks ICE for doing XYZ. They don't pitch in anywhere. They don't help anybody.
According to polls, the only agency that's less popular than ICE is the IRS, and that's only by a point.
Yeah, all right. You're taking our money, but you're taking us. This sucks. All right. Well, yeah, they're not helping themselves.
They haven't hit bottom yet.
They're right. They haven't. And also, this is not a long-standing tradition or anything. ICE is relatively new. So for all the fighting about what to do about them later on, they're in for a major overhaul at minimum, if not just being ground up and redistributed elsewhere.
This is Axios. Americans sour on ICE amid immigration crackdown shootings, driving the news. A YouGov poll of over 2,600 U.S. adults 52% either somewhat or strongly disapproved if ICE was handling its job. Just 27% said the agency's tactics were about right, compared to 51% who called them too forceful. And they talk about the same thing, cratering. The rating cratering over the years includes Stephen Miller's plan to arrest 3,000 people per day.
Yes.
And it's just not working. And meanwhile, support for abolishing ICE has surged. We'll have a word about that.
Yes.
What people want is ICE reform. They don't necessarily want ICE abolished, but that's not an important discussion to have in the sense that it matters.
I wouldn't bow down over that.
People are for changing what's going on.
Yes.
And the difference between, well, I want to abolish ICE and I want to support reform, as many people have pointed out, that's interfactional democratic whining about where their funding is going to come from. It doesn't matter. It's stupid.
I would put that aside now, everybody. Yeah. In addition to saying, well, I would focus on this, or we need to get together, and none of you can do whatever your hopes, plans, or whatever for the future for ICE are. None of you can do any of it now. You can't.
Right.
The only way you can do it.
Sponsored a poll which said this, which is my position, and I'm arguing this and support my group.
And I want to vote for people who'll say it too.
Yeah, but that's understand that the reason I'm making noise about it now is I need support from my group.
Yeah.
Well, support for your group is not the same thing as doing the things you are claiming you are standing for.
That's certainly not true. You can't equate the two of them. You can yell and scream all you want right now. I think don't hurt anybody over it, certainly. But
I want people to understand what this is. This is not vicious.
It's okay.
Progressive versus centrist. Everybody's out there. It's none of that stuff.
There you go. Okay,
actual people don't care about this.
Well, that's certainly true. And even among the people who do, you should be able to say, this is how I want to advocate. But I think you'd probably be wasting your time and diluting your effort if you spent time saying, and I want to do 6 hours a day on how much I hate the people who don't say it the way I say it.
Right, exactly. Okay. And I want to make that point because it's silly, it's stupid. Remember the discussions about defund the police? This is actually not the same. This is similar.
Okay.
I think again we had this discussion. It's similar to what's going on in Iran.
I don't remember anything.
Do the Kurds protest, or is it the entire Iranian people?
Oh.
Is it progressives who are saying that you have to abolish ICE, or is it the American people? It's the American people.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
That's
Who
true.
said
That's an
that we should defund
point,
the police? Was it progressive or the American people? It wasn't the American people. That's why at the time it was really not a good discussion to have.
They were Americans.
Politically. Now, it's okay.
Okay. Well, that's good. There's a permission structure for people who are waiting for it to be okay. Now it's okay. Why are you mad now? It's okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, some of the people who really split every hair, I have a feeling either are, dysfunctional people or possibly bots, and you don't have to worry about them.
Exactly. And the more you're angry about this, the more you need to get offline and go and talk to actual people.
Yeah. And if there's an actual person in front of you saying it, go ahead, have the discussion all you want. If it's happening online, take a break, go outside.
Is this hippie bashing? No. Is it lefty bashing? No. It's none of those things. The people who are on the left who are saying abolish ICE aren't wrong. In fact, they have the support of the American people. Now, if you want to be practical about it, and rather than say, okay, that means you need to support my group with money, but rather, what exactly would you like us to do? Turn to people like Chris Murphy and others in Congress who are making actual suggestions as to how to change things.
Yes, sure. Good.
Go back to previous funding, take them out of HHS, increase standards for recruiting, get rid of masking, all those things. Those things matter, and they're small but important things that, if implemented, would change everything.
Yes.
Because then you wouldn't allow Trump to use ICE and Border Patrol as brown shirts.
And then it may also be...
And that's what people want.
Certainly be more plausible at that point to then say, and now that we've done those things, we can now find out who is it did what, and will you be held responsible for it.
Once you get the majority in November, then you can impeach Kristi Noem and find out who's responsible. Was it Stephen Miller? Let's make him pay.
Okay, let's do that. I'm ready.
So that's the deal.
All right.
Thought I should mention that. This is from...
In the upcoming break, everyone should do that. Thank you.
This
Go
is
ahead.
Ron Brownstein, another ICE adjacent story. This ICE crackdown is making the case for real immigration reform.
Oh.
President Trump's
I'll get a gang
hardline approach to
together.
undocumented immigrants has generated enormous economic, political, and social disruption, with businesses complaining about a shortage of workers. The bill has attracted bipartisan support in Congress for something called the Dignity Act, a bipartisan bill which would strengthen immigration enforcement and create long-term legal status for most undocumented immigrants. So this is one unintended consequence of Stephen Miller's crusade and Trump's militarized mass deportation campaign, is people are actually getting around to coming to the point where, remember that Langford bill that actually was going to try to address this? Maybe we should address this.
Well, the papers are around, which I know becomes an issue later, but the bills are there. Dust them off. Although I got to tell you that there was that like
fun thing after the break.
Yeah, there was this internal eye roll of like, oh, maybe it's time for to discuss bipartisan immigration reform. Oh my God, here I go again. And this time though, we're not going to say anybody is a gang of 8 or gang, not only just because we're tired of the term, but because it could get you arrested.
Yeah.
You might be deported to Sri Lanka for all I know.
Yeah. We'll start with Marco Rubio.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad
He's
thing.
always a
I'm
member
just
of the
saying.
Gang of 8.
Yeah, that's true. Any gang he's likely to be a part of. All right. Well, we have our break coming up. We got to get to our music in just a second here. Literally 1 second, because there it is. And you all can ponder all of the situation. You can ponder it all you like. You're never going to be able to understand it, but we'll do our best to help sort it out. Yes, fun thing happening on the other side. The number of other weirdo stories to round up, including some rather incredible things that have flown under the radar until like just now. But I don't know. We'll test it out on you and see whether you've heard anything about this stuff too. And return in 2 minutes. Hi, it's me, David. I mostly do the commercials around here, too. Have you ever thought you'd like to do a show like this one, but a lot shorter? Maybe without necessarily waking up early each day, or even, let's say, working at it each day? Well, now you can, sort of, and by now, I mean pretty much any time you want, because what I'm talking about is you recording a news story, sharing an essay, or otherwise contributing your thoughts on these crazy times with the rest of us, and with any digital recording device. Make the show your own, as I like to say. Send me a digital file of your recording, a link to any source material, and a note about how you'd like to be identified on the air at KagroX, that's KAGROX, at gmail.com, and I'll take it from there. Don't worry about those ums and ahs either. I sure don't, but I'll even do my best to edit your submission down into a nice-sounding dispatch from the field. So come on, everybody, make the show your own. Help me prove once and for all that I'm not just imagining this audience. Welcome back, everybody, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. We're just having our chat between the breaks here about what we're going to do. We have a whole plan here, and then I started launching into something completely different that I also want to include and everything. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to keep you in suspense, Greg, and I'll tell you about it later. It's not as important as the things you have in your mental queue.
Well, the things that I have in my mental queue aren't necessarily important. I just think they're interesting.
Okay.
Interesting thing number 1.
Well, mine's not important, and it's only barely interesting.
The name is Bruce Blakeman. Does it strike a bell with any of you out there? Maybe you never heard of him, and that's okay.
Yeah.
He's Nassau County Executive on Long Island. That's L-O-N capital G-I-S-L-A-N-D, for those of you who are not tri-state area residents. Bruce Blakeman is the default executive running for governor against Kathy Hochul. It was going to be Mike Lawler, but I think they convinced him to stay in Congress because they need the votes. It was going to be Elise Stefanik, but everybody decided they hated her, and so it's not going to be her. And in the vacuum, Bruce Blakeman decided to step up. Who is he? Nobody knows. Is he going to lose to Hochul? Absolutely. Is he going to be the political force that, Lee Zeldin was when he lost against Kathy Hochul? No, because he's not that well known. But he's trying to stake out positions, and so he's going for the MAGA crew. How do we know this? Well, this is a story in the New York Times just the other day, published January 14th. As the presumptive Republican candidate for governor of New York, Bruce Blakeman could be expected to find flaws in Governor Hochul's State of the State address. A day after the annual address, he criticized Democratic governor's record on crime, complained about taxes, complained about her child care agenda that she's going to do with Zohran Mamdani together, which is very popular.
People have children.
That's not what this article talks about. It turns out the starkest difference between them was in their stances on the killing of Renee Good by a federal immigration agent in Minneapolis, which Ms. Hochul has portrayed as an outrage.
Which it is.
When you look at both videos, it looks like the individual that was shot, the person was engaged in trying to run down the ICE officer, Mr. Blakeman told reporters in Albany.
No.
Now, he said he'd like to see a full investigation.
Sure, why not?
And said something like that could happen with Zohran Mamdani because he's a democratic socialist. I mean, it's a ridiculous
having an
positioning in New York State.
You don't need to be talking about that.
We just went over all the numbers where the entire country thinks that she was shot unnecessarily.
He may not have
use the
seen
inflammatory
the numbers.
word murder. Great. You want to wait for the investigation. Okay. But everybody, when I say everybody, 80%, saw the video.
Yeah, that's everybody.
And everybody knows what happened. And he's positioning himself as, I'm going to defend the guy who shot the woman.
He may not have seen any of the numbers at all. I may have just done this reflexively. I don't know. Trump says this. I'm on board with Trump, which is bad. It's terrible. And he's somebody who can't run the state, much less Nassau County, or
well,
not
what he
Nassau
said
County,
was
much less
very
the
clear.
state.
And I quote, I support a lot of Trump's policies, if not all of his policies.
But
and I support his politics. Basically, he's saying, I'm a Trumper. In New York State, where Trump is very unpopular.
Oh, right. Let me note that. Okay. That seems unwise. I guess he wasn't ready for prime time, but that's why he was, the third-tier Republican candidate in the primary. And then
the first
two tiers dropped out.
The second tier, Stefanik was forced out. The third tier decided not to run. He's fourth tier.
Yeah, I guess so. That's true. And by the way, she was forced out because everybody was like, you can't run as a Trumper in the state. What are you, crazy? Oh, okay. Well, what would be a name? Who is the third tier? I don't even know who that would be. Or maybe there really is, it's a blank. And if Curtis Lewa were to say, I'll do it, he'd be third tier.
It's Curtis Lewa. It's generic Republican.
I guess so. Anybody. Okay. It's wild.
If you're running behind Curtis Lewa, it tells you a little bit.
Yeah. This guy's running behind measles. This is nothing going on. Oh, Bruce Blakeman. All right. Well, Nassau County is not, without its population, it just won't get you the governorship.
Americans think the ICE officer was justified in killing Renee Good. According to the polls, Quinnipiac 28%, YouGov 35%, Data for Progress 36%. At most, a third of the country, only 1 in 3 Americans think the ICE officer was justified. Blakeman is running for that 1/3, except in New York it's probably closer to 25%. So I think all of that is incredibly important. Speaking of politics, again, new polling out from Texas because everybody's sort of watching that primary. Republican primary, Ken Paxton, 27, John Cornyn, 26, Wesley Hunt, who is a Republican member of Congress who is never there.
Really? Oh, well, no wonder. I don't know him. Okay.
In fact, Mike Johnson just yelled at him for never being here. I need your vote. I only have a 1-vote majority, and you keep campaigning, and you never show up here.
Interesting. Where is he? I wonder. That's a good
Texas.
Question. Well,
campaigning.
Why? All right. Oh, campaigning. Oh, I see. All right. I thought he was just never showing
governor,
up. Because
Republican primary for U.S. Senate. He's running against Paxton and Cornyn. 27, 26, 16.
Well, he does have work
29% undecided wins. On the Democratic side, James Tallarico gets 47. Jasmine Crockett gets 38. And undecided gets 15.
All right.
Right, and I said I don't really have a dog in that fight. I don't. I just made the observation that it appeared to me that Tallarico was a better fit for Texas, and so far polling agrees with that.
All right, he may be more Texas-shaped.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So all of that, and then Mona Charen, very conservative, writing in the Bulwark, ICE is a law-breaking law enforcement agency. A Trump-appointed judge took the agency to task for its flagrant contempt, basically said, look, we can't believe anything that the government says. I'm sorry, but we can't.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. There's no reason to, and all evidence points to the contrary. So, good. That's a presumption of regularity out the window, just to bring back one of our terms that we like to try to teach about every once in a while.
Now, speaking about terms and teaching people, I got to cover this story just because I was laughing when I saw it.
Yes.
Now, let's just set things up in my non-professional, never having done this, amateur, dilettante way. And that takes me back to Schoolhouse Rock. You know, I'm just a bill.
Okay.
So one House of Congress proposes a bill, and then they have a vote in rules to set up the debate for this.
That's the
House. And then if that passes, then they have a debate on the bill and they pass the bill.
Right.
And when that happens, these are the key words, they send it over to the other chamber.
Yes.
The other chamber deals with it in whatever fashion the chamber wishes to do.
You have to.
Right?
Yeah.
Send over is a bland term, fraught with difficulty if you actually check it out. I don't know how many times you have told me on the show, I heard they sent it over, let's see the paperwork.
The papers.
I heard somebody signed it, let's see the signature.
Yes, that's true.
What could go wrong?
Right, and I've pointed out also, it's not, we're not living in the electronic age with this stuff. They're in the same building for a reason. They actually literally, in order for the Senate to be able to start talking about a bill, the papers that have the words printed on them that were passed by the House have to be carried over and presented to the Senate, and they have to receive them, and then they can talk about this. It can't just be, I read that the House passed it.
Right. I'm not the ambassador to the Court of St. James until I submit my papers.
That's true, too. Yeah.
You accept them. I mean, that's how it works. So,
right. Okay.
Let's move up to modern times. And you may recall that Mike Johnson is so lacking in feck. He is so feckless that he couldn't stop the fact that there were 3 separate discharge petitions about the Affordable Care Act subsidies expiring,
right?
That were going to go around him because he refused to bring this to the floor for a vote, either through rules or actually being on the floor. And there were there was a Democratic version, Jared Golden's. There was a Republican version. I think it was Brian Fitzpatrick, and then there was Hakeem Jeffries' version.
Yeah. Oh, he's a Democrat
1 year,
too.
2 year, or 3 year extensions.
Yeah.
And when we went. We, meaning me, in my curiosity, went to the House Clerk's page and clicked on the discussion. I saw how many people had signed the petition to give us an idea of, which one was gaining steam.
Right.
But then I clicked on the actual bill language to try to figure out which bill was which, and it turned out I couldn't interpret it because the language of the bill was sort of garbage. For example, this act may be cited as the Breaking the Gridlock Act. A congressional time capsule created by the architect of the capsule. That's not the bill. Why are they referring to this bill? We're talking about an ACA bill.
Oh, yes.
And it turned out they hadn't really written the language yet. This was what they call a placeholder bill. And again, the procedural reason for that is you can't demand that something be let out of committee because it's been bottled up if, in fact, the language has only been there for 15 minutes.
Right.
So you have to have a bill sitting there languishing, that's the word, languishing, until such time as you decide I need a discharge petition to unlanguish it and get it out of committee. And in order to create those conditions, you put in what I called a lorem ipsum bill, which is simply a placeholder, which is what, printologists do. Typographers. It's a placeholder just to set things up, and you can see how things look before you put the actual text in. And you're not supposed to publish it, and you can't claim ownership for it.
Yeah.
This is copyrighted because lorem ipsum, right here, I own this site.
Right.
All it says is lorem ipsum. So these bills were sitting there, and then what happened is everybody rallied for various and sundry reasons, to make the story short. They rallied around Hakeem Jeffries' version in a direct slap in the face to Mike Johnson. They took the minority leader's version, signed it, and they voted on it, and they passed it. But what that means When I say that they passed it, what I mean is they offered an amendment to the existing Lorem Ipsum shell bill that was already there, and having voted to amend it, that's the new language,
yes,
which includes things about health care, which they then send over to the other chamber. And check me if I'm getting any.
I think that sounds right to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens? Well, let's just go to the tape, as Warner Wolf likes to say, and let me read from this wonderful piece by Jamie Dupre. Oops, the House sent the wrong Obamacare bill text to the Senate.
Oh, all right.
Talk about a mistake. While the
Yeah.
House voted last week for a 3-year, $80 billion extension of extra health insurance subsidies under the Affordable Care Act, by the way, that's Hakeem Jeffries' discharge petition, that's not what made it over to the U.S. Senate. Somehow, the House Clerk's Office did not include the updated amendment offered by Democrats and approved on the House floor. Instead, the wrong bill papers were sent across to the Capitol. Now what? Well, it turns out House officials scrambled to fix that mistake on Tuesday night as the House quietly approved a resolution which asked the Senate to return the bill papers for H.R. 1834, and that was okayed by unanimous consent. Stop right there. Question. Was this a screw-up, or were they just trying to muck up the works by doing this deliberately? The answer is it's a screw-up because they had unanimous consent to fix it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like if you screwed it up and you just wanted it to kill the bill, then you wouldn't. Yeah, some Republican would object, and then you'd be stuck with these dumb, wrong papers. And I don't know what happens then, but.
Right. So informed about the mix-up, the top Democrat on the House Rules Committee had an answer for what was going on.
Okay.
And I'm quoting him.
All right. Uh-oh.
Okay. He said, "This is all fucked up."
I'm about to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a quote.
We've
That's
given
his
up
quote.
on most of the bleeping here at this point, but.
Who called it amateur hour? What happened? While the House legitimately passed the 3-year extension, the clerk's office didn't use that amendment, defaulting instead to the original bill text, which was a placeholder for a House discharge petition started by Democrats in November. And I feel like we've set up our audience to understand what that means.
Yeah. Right. And now the papers that they have to, you can't just, everybody else, like if it was Trump doing this, well, why don't you just send the right one now? Well, it doesn't work quite like that. We have to get the papers back for correction, and they literally have to send them back over, and we have to receive, ugh. And it's a dumb mistake. I don't know.
It doesn't stop there. They did more.
What?
They did more wrong things.
Oh, no.
There's this thing called the congressional record.
Yes, I've heard of it.
If you put something in the congressional record, it's the official what happened.
I guess so.
Minutes of the Congress, or I don't know how you describe it, but if
the
it's
journal
in there,
is the minutes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
They sent the wrong version of this bill to be printed in the congressional record. They put the Lorem Ipsum bill. They put the shell
Well, at least
bill, rather than
maybe
the
that's
actual
better.
language.
That might be better in that at least now it doesn't require any additional explanation. Like I could see them saying, well, this would really be something. We sent the correct text to be printed in the congressional record and the wrong text to the Senate. And then when you say send it back, they say, no,
that's
it was
where we
right.
are now. Because you were saying about online stuff?
Yeah.
The congressional record apparently can be corrected online.
Okay.
So the congressional record now has the correct version, and the Senate has the old incorrect version.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
Exactly
might
what
be
you were
worse.
just describing.
If we had any time for this stuff, because, Minneapolis is under siege and so many things are happening, no one's going to talk about this on the Sunday shows, but this would set up for, if they invited a Democrat on the show, which they very often don't, they'd now be sitting there saying, no, that's not what the bill says. Yes, it is what the bill says. And they would have to fight over, are these words the correct words? And they'd both have a claim to be right.
Marcus
and,
of Queensberry rules.
We're
They
out
have
of time.
to step out the studio and slug each other. So how does this get fixed? It turns out that because the Senate has the wrong papers and the House unanimously asked the Senate to send it back so we can fix it, the Senate has to vote on agreeing to send the papers back.
They possess them.
But there's one problem.
Oh.
The Senate's about to leave for 10 days.
Oh.
Because the Senate doesn't do anything. They just come in for 2 days and then they leave. And then they take a recess for 10 days. And so they got to do that today.
Yeah, I mean, there's no time limit on it, but it just means they would have people are waiting for their health care, and time is of the essence in that respect. So, okay.
Now,
wow.
Do you think that it was even possible that what might have happened is that the House would have not sent it over, or they would have delayed or dawdled or stuff like that? As Jamie Duprey puts it, and I quote, "There was a bit of irony in this mistake because Democrats were evidently worried that even if the House approved their subsidy bill, Republicans might not send the measure to the Senate, so Democrats included a specific provision in the rule to make sure the bill papers were actually taken to the other side of the Capitol."
Wow. Oh.
Quote, "The clerk shall transmit to the Senate a message that the House has passed H.R. 1834 no later than one calendar day after passage." One calendar day, because Mike Johnson has made a day last a month if he feels like it.
Yes, it's easier to do in the Senate, but yeah, we've talked about that too. That doesn't have to be the same thing as a regular day for normal people.
I feel like the last 10 years of Kagro X have set me up to read this one article and understand half of what is in here.
Yes, it's a success in that sense, but what a huge waste of time. 10 years to read one article.
Right. Well, that's what we do best, isn't it? Waste an hour?
Yeah. Well, that's really...
that's
and the fail-safe thing is interesting, too. Like, you got to do it within one calendar day, and I wonder whether... It's what? Oh, you know what? I guess it is interesting. Maybe you could point to this rule and say, this dictates that the clerk send the correct text within a calendar day. I don't know what happened with the papers you sent, but maybe we don't need those papers back because those papers are something else. You never sent the correct papers. We don't need their permission to have them back. We asked you to send the correct, but they don't run the House. They don't have the gavel, so. Right. I don't know how that's going to work out. And
so Jamie Duprey, being a stickler for these sorts of things, just the way we are, said, "I wonder if this ever happened before."
It has to have happened.
Well, interestingly,
at some point, yeah,
the same type of error happened last year on a House-passed bill dealing with limits on new federal courthouse construction. It took almost 2 months for the Senate to approve a unanimous consent request to return the bill papers to the House. And the reason that he even came across this in the first place so that we could talk about it is because he saw a unanimous consent request made on Wednesday by Chuck Schumer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he said, "Why do we need a unanimous consent request? What's going on here?"
Well,
Schumer tried to pass the House-passed subsidies bill specifically saying it would happen when the Senate receives H.R. 1834 as passed by the House on January 8th. But the House bill had already been sent over to the Senate. So why is he asking for unanimous consent on this bill? And the answer is because he just figured out it was the wrong bill.
Wow. Well, at least he's on top of it enough to figure that out.
Yeah.
But
that's
really
what
is
clued
something.
him into the fact that something was going on here. Because
good
nobody
sleuthing.
ever agrees to anything unanimously. Who's asking? Why? What's going on? That's a flag.
Well, the truth is that they still do routinely agree to unanimous consent requests for a lot of things. But there's an
obvious explanation. There was no obvious explanation for why Schumer would be the one asking.
I guess. And to say, right, at that point, if you had received the bill correctly, I mean, sometimes people then say, "I ask unanimous consent that we deem it as passed by the House," and everybody says no, and it's just done for, scoring points or whatever. But that wasn't the request, so I don't know. That's very odd. Congratulations to Dupree for figuring it out.
Good. He's one of the people I follow assiduously because he's just so
all right. Well, I was wondering what the procedure would be. I thought, I don't know what it is because this is a pretty rare mistake. It's probably fairly common, but not over something controversial and that Republicans want to duck.
As Duprey said, it happened last year, and it was fixed, but it took 2 months.
All right.
Who cares?
That's bad. Okay.
Well, that's because the Senate's never there, and they never get around to
that
stuff.
So there you go. All of your, if you're waiting for your ACA subsidies, I guess you gotta, call the Senate, call your senators, and say, send those damn papers back. What are you waiting for? Enough of these stupid semantic games. The thing got passed in the House. Do the right thing. But that might not result in the right thing.
Now, this is from that piece that I referenced, Mona Charen writing, ICE is a law-breaking law enforcement agency. And she wrote something that caught my eye because I had not realized this.
Okay.
A lot of times you step back and say, why aren't people resigning in protest? What's going on here? Why don't you publicly say this is wrong? Well, we know that in the case of trying to label the woman who was killed by an ICE agent as falsely calling her a domestic terrorist,
Renee,
at least
good.
6 high-level officials resigned. You heard that.
Yeah, in the U.S. Attorney's Office there in Minneapolis.
Right.
Okay.
So she writes something I knew and then something I didn't know.
All right.
6 Department of Justice lawyers resigned rather than participate in that travesty, which is not nothing.
Right.
Add that to the roll of honor that also includes the 10 lawyers who resigned rather than drop the case against Eric Adams. You heard about that?
Yes.
Okay, how about this one? And the more than 5,000 officials who have quit the Justice Department in the past year.
I don't think I heard the number 5,000, but I know there's a huge exodus going on.
Well,
sure.
What's the definition of huge?
5,000. Yeah. But you know what? I would have given it to you at 4,000.
Yeah. Okay.
But 5, that's incredible. Yeah, true. Well, good point. Thank you for reminding us of those numbers. Mona Charen. If you've lost Mona Charen, nothing happens. But, you know.
Well, look, you lost Joe Rogan. You lost Mona Charen.
Right.
Tim Walz
I don't know if
is
they
saying,
go in the
here's
same category.
how you do proper resistance. You film these dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob Frey is saying they're doing this on port, and it's all happening. And,
yes.
You need to know it's not that people are doing nothing. People are doing everything.
True. I know. By the way, that did remind me that there are some things that people are doing that, like, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're trying to do something, but I do want to say this might not be the right one. As Tim Walz is saying, you got to be filming these guys, and that seems true. The ICE agents themselves, of course, view the filming as some sort of violation of law all by itself, an obstruction of federal operations, and they will
saying that that's not true. You have the right to do it. So
Walz is correct,
okay.
And depending on how close you get to them when you're filming it, sometimes they tolerate it and yell at you, but sometimes they also will bash you over the head when you do it. I saw among the several ideas circulating for eliminating the anonymity of these ICE and Border Patrol wacko thugs, Ritchie Torres, who, as it turns out, is nobody's favorite. Anyway, he proposed a bill. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to have them unmask, and they got to wear, people are saying they're not even wearing badges or any identity, any identification of any sort. So he thought, why don't we make a mandatory part of the uniform a QR code that you could use to identify individual agents. And it occurred to me that doesn't really sound like much of a solution, quite honestly. But when you're filming officers or taking pictures of them and you get close, they smash you. And how are you going to get a picture of a guy's QR code without getting your head knocked in? And like, Richie, this might not be just say, it's okay, I'll go back to the drawing board and try something else. Don't stick by this one. But I mean, in a situation where if you pull out your camera in close proximity to one of these guys, they smash your face in, your solution is, I'm going to force you to pull out your camera and get your face smashed in so that you can try to identify them. I don't know if that's going to work. That's all I'm saying. Not to mention the fact that somebody else pushed back and said, so there's a DHS database site that you're going to go to with your QR code to identify the agents you say are being abusive, so that every time someone says this is happening, now DHS has a list of the phone numbers of everybody who's complaining so they can send agents to go bash their heads in. This also will not work.
Right.
So just put the badges on and take the masks off, guys.
Yeah. My last point here is a dual one. It's about what's happening. But also a comment about X.
Okay.
Which I call Twitter because I refuse to.
That seems fair.
To call it what.
Though they're supposed to be able to identify however they want. But go ahead.
A few months ago, ICE hired me, said Laura Jadid, a reporter. I didn't sign and submit any paperwork. I'm real outspoken about my opinion of the Trump administration. I'm extremely Googleable. They signed me up anyway.
Yeah.
And she wrote an article called You've Heard About Who ICE is Recruiting. The Truth is Far Worse, and I'm the Proof. What happens when you do minimal screening. Mm-hmm. Homeland Security, the actual DHS social media account, took that piece and said, "This is such a lazy lie. This individual was never offered a job at ICE. Applicants may receive a tentative selection letter following their initial application, and the interview is not a job offer. It just means they're invited to submit information."
Sounds plausible.
Readers added context they thought people might want to know, and this is why I make the point Twitter isn't quite as bad as you think. Here's the community piece. The author has provided video evidence of her ICE recruitment and hiring portal showing a tentative offer, final offer, and onboarding date. The video also shows a completed background investigation dated 6 days after her entrance on duty.
Okay.
Do you find this helpful?
I do. That is helpful. Now, the downside is she provided the video evidence, and then people asked Grok to take her clothes off with it. So Grok, X is not great.
You know, it's got pluses and minuses. I'm not making the case that Grok is great. You know, I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying. But
it's not as bad as people say, but it's still pretty bad.
Well, yeah, it's just pretty horrible. I don't know. I think people are right on when they say it's really terrible. But, okay. At any rate, by the way, I was going to tell the teaser I was going to give you. Unless you want anything else to squeeze in, and I can tell you off air about the W thing I was talking about. Right. Not George W. Bush, but spelled with a W. Another, this is very unimportant in the grand scheme of things. Trump had another weirdo press conference in the White House yesterday during which he fell asleep, and RFK Jr. was there speaking in his weird shaky voice, and they were doing a whole thing about, the dumb health things that he's pushing, including whole milk. And in that sense, they mean, I think, raw, unpasteurized whole milk. I'm not even sure. But anyway, Trump signed some kind of an executive order once they poked him awake. And he said, this is going to allow them to have whole milk. Whole milk. There's a legal definition of whole milk. And it's spelled with a W, by the way. Right. So like many people don't know this.
As we end this segment, let me point out Trump has actually brought up the Insurrection Act and has now threatened to use it in
Yes. Right. That was the plan all along.
Not just a theory, he said it.
Okay. There you go. Now, that may or may not mean that he's signed anything, and he may or may not be signing anything with legal force. But, yeah. So up to now, it's been Stephen Miller vaguely threatening it. Now, Trump has been told you should threaten it, too. And, Todd Blanche, Deputy AG, says Walz and Frey are engaged in insurrection. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Greg informs me, by the way, that Trump has picked up the ball and started running with it, probably on Truth Social, and everybody knew that this was coming. Everybody has said for a long time that this was the aim of the thing. We're still only in threat mode, but we now are at the point in the threat game where the President of the United States, allegedly the President of the United States, it's both alleged that he is the president, that all the paperwork was done correctly, etc., and that it was actually him behind this threat. But anyway, he's now posting on Truth Social direct threats to invoke the Insurrection Act, which Republicans have been screaming about really since 2020 that they wanted to do this. And maybe even before that. I think they were actually saying we should invoke the Insurrection Act with respect to the Black Lives Matter protests following the murder of George Floyd. So they've been looking to invoke the Insurrection Act for quite some time. Now Trump is actually saying it, although I believe he's said it before. So we'll see what stage of the game we're at. That little bloop sounds like there was an extra entry at the end of the Zoom chat, and maybe it is. Yeah, there it is. A photo of, a screen cap of Trump's latest threat. We'll do a quick field analysis of it. He says, in his inimitable way, except that we're about to imitate it. So, not that inimitable. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, one of the few people in the world who puts periods after the IC and E for ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute, not invoke, but institute, the, now all caps, Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT, which does sound like he actually typed it himself, possibly. All right. I mean, all right in the sense that, all right, he's crazy and it's not all right. for this to happen. This happened earlier in the day, 8:04 a.m., so we've been laboring under this threat the whole time and didn't even know it, but there you go. There's a million things wrong with that, of course, including the fact that something that important should maybe actually be done in real life versus posted on a fake social media site that nobody looks at, except, take pictures of it and bring it over here. That's how you have to figure out. That's the only way you can figure out what the president of the United States has in store for, putting down what he says is an insurrection in one of the states. I'll put it on social media. I mean, that's not a real thing. All right. Well, I do think, I know he's threatened this before, but I guess you're supposed to worry about that. I had mentioned somewhere along the line that Todd Blanche, and I guess I should be looking this up. I got all kinds of notes to myself. I don't know if I reposted it myself, so I don't know if scrolling through my own feed is going to do it. But let me search for Todd Blanche so that I can have his words on the record. Here we go. Came right up. In which, here is John Q. Publius 24 on Blue Sky, saying Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche calls what's happening in Minneapolis an insurrection and threatens to go after the governor and the mayor. Here's Todd Blanche's post. I don't know where it is. If it's on X or Truth Social or Rumble or Gab or Tumble or Tag or whatever the hell they call their own things. He says, ICE operates in thousands of counties without incident. Men and women doing their jobs, protecting us from criminal aliens, except the ones that we hire to be ICE agents. You know about that. Minnesota insurrection is a direct result of a failed governor and a terrible, those are capitalized, terrible mayor encouraging violence against law enforcement. It's disgusting. They are, of course, not. They were very cautious in pointing out that they ought not to be moving people to violence against officers. But Todd Blanche, he may just be saying it for the hell of it, hoping that people will believe it. If he were to be pressed on it by somebody he felt compelled to answer, he might say, the filming itself is the violence I'm talking about. Well, how is that violent? Well, it's obstruction of their duties, and so that's obviously violent because something, ipso facto, whatever. Anyway, there's more to it, though. Minnesota insurrection is a direct result of a failed governor, terrible mayor, just like the boss. Okay. Anyway, he says it's disgusting. Walz and Frey, I'm focused on stopping you from your terrorism by whatever means necessary. Now he goes on to say, this is not a threat. It is a threat. It's a promise. And I know that's the tough guy way on the school grounds, schoolhouse, schoolyard, to threaten people and somehow make your threat even more of a threat, even though you begin by saying it's not a threat. It's a little idiomatic in that sense. But there you have it. Isn't this just something? What can I tell you? And a lot of people commenting on, and Walz, I think, in reacting to, I don't know whether Walz's statement that we played came first and Blanche is reacting to that, or because it sounds like what Walz had to say, or was it Frey? I don't know which one said. Maybe it must have been Frey, because it seems like his was the more expansive comment, where he's saying we can't have it where different levels of the government or two different governments are threatening to fight one another. Although I think he's talking about a fight, like a physical fight between Minneapolis, local police, and the ICE, Border Patrol, and everything else, alphabet soup agents. But here, if this statement comes after, as I think some people I've seen posting on Blue Sky have suggested, this is, basically, are we at the Civil War stage yet? We're talking about the federal government is saying the governor of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis are engaged not only in insurrection, but terrorism against the United States of America. How do you deal with that other than, like, if it were really true let's say, for instance, it was South Carolina and the South Carolinians had, shelled a nearby federal fort, then you would put that insurrection down in a particular manner. So are we there yet, is the question. All right, well, I'll put that aside and share it with you. There are still a million different things that I have to get to catch you up to date. And there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. So we'll pick and choose what things there are to share with you. And gosh, I don't even know where to begin. There's about 15 different things to bring to your attention. I guess we'll start going. You know what? I don't know. Maybe this is the weirdest. Let me bring this one up because I haven't heard a damn thing about this. And I wonder if maybe some of you have. All right. It begins with some Blue Sky posts. Let me go to them. From Jenny Cohn, who I guess I might have to do a little backgrounder on her. I'm scrolling over the profile. Let's see. After practicing law for 20 plus years, I now write about elections, propaganda, and political extremism. You can find my most recent work at the Bucks County Beacon, Jenny Cohn says about herself. And I'm pretty sure I've cited her or responded to her or built on something reacting to it on Blue Sky of hers maybe once or twice in the last couple of days. And now this one comes out of the blue. And it begins with a link to a story from OPB.org, which is actually, I think, Oregon Public Broadcasting. So, if you're worried about the provenance of it. And an NPR story by Jeff Brumfield reporting on a situation I've just not heard a word about. And I think I still want to preface it with Jenny Cohn yesterday pointing this thing out and has since had more to say about that. And we'll get to that part later. A new Trump program, Jenny says, and I guess quoting from the article that she's linked to here, quote, will fast track construction of new and untested reactor designs. And here we're talking about just what probably came to mind for you, nuclear reactors. So new and untested reactor designs, fast track construction of them. How fast? Very fast. You'll see how fast in just a second. To be built by private firms, which I guess by itself is not a red flag necessarily. Most of them are, I guess. But built by private firms with an explicit goal of having at least 3 nuclear test reactors up and running by July 4th. It's January. I mean, I haven't heard anything about this. Is there like site preparation going on anywhere? It just occurred to me, I have across down the street and across the main drag here, you should see what I just said was the main drag. Anyway, across the divided highway that we have here in town, they have been working on building a Shake Shack there for like a year. They're just getting there. There used to be a McDonald's there. They tore it down. They, repaved. They rebuilt the parking area with the drive-through and everything. I don't know how long they've been going on it. They can't get the Shake Shack up and running, but they're going to have nuclear test reactors for some unproven technology, which great. I'm glad there's going to be a chain reaction going on in the middle of I don't know where. And you're going to get it built by July 4th. I don't know whether I just have ignored this story up until now, whether I'm almost there. But I mean, if they're like, yep, build me a nuclear reactor. I don't think you can do that fast. I mean, that's not a terrible thing. And okay, I missed the deadline. Good. Take your time. But what is this about? Well, okay. So she's linked to this story. Now, what she's done with it, in addition to making us aware of the stories, she's run with a whole other situation that's attached itself to the people involved in this are weird, and maybe you don't want them anywhere near you for various reasons. You certainly don't want them building nuclear reactors in your neighborhood or anywhere on the planet. Let's not have those things. What's going on? OPB runs the NPR story. Again, Jeff with a G, Jeff Brumfiel, F-I-E-L. Trump's rush to build nuclear reactors across the U.S., so he's got a lot of them in mind, raises safety worries. As it should, honestly, if he were taking his time with it. If Trump is behind it, you have safety worries with it. But they're also not taking their time. In May, President Trump sat in the Oval Office flanked by executives from America's nuclear power industry. And by the way, this is an article from last month, December 17th. And so still this hasn't reached my eyes, which is surprising all by itself. So now at least it says in May, he said, I want this done by July 4th. Still an unreasonable demand. I would imagine if you ask me to just guess, and I have no basis for this, how long does it take to get a nuclear reactor built and up and running? I would say 6 years, I guess. Even after all the permitting is done, I would imagine that construction would take many, many years, and that by the time they're ready to say, we're going online, we're starting a chain reaction, years. But he's like, let's do it in less than one. In May, Trump sat in the Oval Office, flanked by executives from America's nuclear power industry. It's a hot industry. It's a brilliant industry. It's extremely hot, by the way, and it's more hot than you want anywhere near you. The president said from behind the Resolute desk, although at that point I have questions about whether it was really the Resolute desk. Remember there was a time when he sent that out for repairs or cleaning or something, or stole it and put it in Pervalago and they had some other desk. Was it the Resolute desk? Maybe at that point. That's not the issue. It's also an industry that's having a moment. Billions of dollars in capital are currently flowing into dozens of companies chasing new kinds of nuclear technologies. These are small modular designs that can potentially be mass produced in the hundreds or even thousands, and that would explain the idea of building them very quickly. I was going to say maybe they're prefabricated. Do you have such things? Their proponents say these advanced designs promise to deliver megawatts of power safely and cheaply. That's usually what they say about these things. But there's a problem. Joseph Dominguez, the CEO of Constellation Energy, told the president, new nuclear reactors keep getting caught up in safety regulations. Oh, I hate those. It's only because if they melt down, they cause massive problems and possibly kill millions. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Mr. President, you know this because you're the best at building things. Oh, that guy's getting approved. Dominguez, whose company runs about a quarter of America's existing nuclear reactors, said, delay in regulations and permitting will absolutely kill you. And by the way, so will a meltdown. But if you can't get the plant on, you can't get the revenue. And isn't that what this is all about? Well, usually they say things like, we want to bring clean, safe power to millions. If you can't do it, you can't get the revenue. That's the issue. And you understand that revenue. By the way, having taken a look at the picture, it really does look like that might be the Resolute desk. So maybe that wasn't during its brief period of absence. Now, a new Trump administration program is sidestepping the regulatory system that's overseen the nuclear industry for half a century. How has the record been? Not spotless, but pretty good. Number of people dead in the United States thanks to nuclear meltdown seems to be relatively low, so that's good. But that also means we got a couple of deaths coming to us. So F the regulations. Who cares? Let's make nuclear reactors out of paper bags. Go for it. Why not? So, all right, we're going to sidestep the regulations. The program will fast-track construction of new and untested reactor designs built by private firms with an explicit goal of having at least 3 nuclear test reactors up and running by the United States' 250th birthday, July 4th, 2026. Very important, as you know, because the founders intended for there to be nuclear reactors erected in recognition of the 250th birthday. That was really the point of the United States. If we don't have nuclear reactors all over the place by the 250th, I mean, we already do, but if we don't have new, untested, unregulated ones open, of course not. They had not. So it's an arbitrary date, but whatever. And I guess when I said I would imagine that it takes 6 years to get one of these things online, part of the reason I thought so was because I thought they would have safety regulations and inspections. But okay, if we take that out of there, I would imagine that maybe I could see them spending a year on the final permitting process on the safety regulations and the tests. But eliminate that. I just thought, how long does it take to build a nuclear reactor? Well, it's a year for a Shake Shack, and they have no nuclear reactors. So the oil is very hot and everything, but I don't think it causes a nuclear meltdown. Coffee may be even hotter. Well, that may be just the McDonald's coffee. But I thought that they would say, well, one of the pieces of the thing has to be metal, and it has to be encased in lead, and then it has to be encased in concrete, and then there has to be pipes that pipe water in and out. So, a good couple of years of construction, but apparently not. Anyway, if that goal is met, and I mean, this is basically Trump saying, we're going to have nuclear in 2 weeks. So, of course, the goal won't be met. It will be without the direct oversight of America's primary nuclear regulator. Since the 1970s, safety for commercial reactors has been in the purview of the nuclear, as George W. Bush would have said, but nuclear, everyone else would say, including me. I stopped to say it right. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Everybody remembers the name, much less on people's lips these days than it was in the 70s and 80s, because we have far fewer nuclear reactors, because we finally basically said these are not really terrific at doing the job and staying safe. We're decommissioning a lot of the old, stupid, rusty ones. But okay, haven't really heard much about the Nuclear Regulatory Commission either, because now everybody says, yeah, of course they've got to oversee these things. There's nuclear material here. But the NRC is only consulting on the new reactor pilot program, which is being run by the Department of Energy's Office of Nuclear Energy, and, of course, the Unitary Executive, I would add. The existing staff of that office, the one in the Department of Energy, recently asked outsiders for help. Wow. Okay. In an email seen by NPR, the Office of Nuclear Energy requested volunteers from universities to assist in speeding up safety reviews. DOE is currently evaluating creative ideas to help manage anticipated resource constraints. Read the November 17th email, which was addressed to members of the National Organization of Test, Research, and Training Reactors. So they went to the right place. Why might they be understaffed? 1, they never really had this mission before. 2, dodgy, probably eliminated 10 or 15,000 people that probably could have helped, but whatever. In an email to NPR, the DOE said that approximately 30 subject matter experts are reviewing the proposals. The request for additional support staff from academia was to gauge if there were disciplines that could further augment federal staff and help expedite reviews, the statement said. But then they also had to review whether or not they didn't like the colleges that they came from because something anti-Semitism, and now forget about it, never mind, let's just build the things. The DOE upholds the highest standards of safety in our work with the nuclear industry, it said. 4 projects have already met with DOE to present their preliminary design reviews, and the first approvals could come early next year. The new pilot program may be an unproven regulatory path run by an agency with limited experience in the commercial sector, but supporters say it's energizing an industry that's been moribund for decades, and by the way, you'll all be moribund for centuries if anything goes wrong, probably millennia. This is exactly what we need to do, says Isaiah Taylor, founder and CEO of Valar Atomics. V-A-L-A-R. Valar, maybe? Okay, never heard of them. Maybe you have. A small nuclear startup. It's like DoorDash, but nuclear energy. Sure. A small nuclear startup headquartered in Hawthorne, California. Stay there, guys. Anyway, we need to make nuclear great again, this guy says. Valar and other companies plan to build smaller reactors than those currently used in the nuclear industry, and that makes a Chernobyl or a Fukushima how did they say it? Is it Fukushima or Fukushima type accident? Impossible. You know what else is impossible? The Titanic can't sink. So I don't know what to tell you about that one. It's impossible, noted Nick Torin, an independent nuclear consultant. Though the overall worst case scenario is definitely less when you're with a smaller reactor. I'm sure that it is, but I don't know how big it has to be in order to be effing disastrous. Well, is it super effing disastrous? No, it's not. It's smaller effing disastrous. Okay. Except for anybody in Hawthorne. And by the way, that's the startup's headquarters, which means that the bosses live near there, which means their test reactors are not going to be built anywhere near Hawthorne, California. Maybe that's the safest place. You want to know the place to escape the nuclear meltdown? Be the CEO's neighbor. Anyway, so critics, however, and there are some, worry that the tight July 4th deadline, political pressure, and the lack of transparency are all compromising safety. Even a, quote, small release of radioactive material could cause damage to people and the environment around the test sites. Yeah, I mean, the atomic bombs aren't that big in the grand scale of things, but, they cause a lot of damage. This is not normal, and this is not okay, and this is not going to lead to success. Oh my gosh, warned Alison McFarlane, a professor at the University of British Columbia who served as chairman of the NRC under President Barack Obama. This is how to have an accident. I think she's made it pretty plain. All right. Where are we? Oh, yes. Why are we doing this? Well, the next section is titled AI's Need for Speed. AI, how are we in AI land again? It becomes obvious in a minute, but I guess one question you might ask yourself is, are they designing these things using AI? I just wonder, because that would probably mean that's another way to have an accident, I would guess. But that's not what they're talking about. The AI boom needs a lot of electricity. We've heard that. According to the International Energy Agency, the energy needs of large data centers in the U.S. will skyrocket by about 130% between now and 2030. And it's already skyrocketed, probably about that much as it happens already. We're going to do it again. Many technology companies are committed to buying energy that doesn't contribute to global warming. That would be nice. And that, in turn, has sparked huge interest in nuclear power, which is amazing that Trump is so interested in it because he doesn't believe in global warming anyway. So I don't know why that's happening. Companies like Amazon and Google have turned to nuclear power to quench their insatiable need for electricity. Nuclear power also occupies a political sweet spot. Really? Unlike renewable technologies, nuclear power has not drawn the ire of the Trump administration. So, okay, it's not that there's science that says we should be focusing on nuclear instead of renewables. It's Trump, and he holds the pen that allows things to be built or can block things from being built. He's blocking wind farms, blocking solar, blocking other renewables, and saying, well, if you don't like the fossil stuff, we can do the gooey meltdown stuff too. Well, or you could do the safe-ish nuclear power with the regulations and all that. No. I want the fast new stuff. Okay, but not okay. But I do hear you. That's what you say. Unlike renewable technologies, nuclear power has not drawn the ire of the Trump administration, which makes it investable, I guess. That may be in part because it has strong backing from Trump-aligned Silicon Valley billionaires like Peter Thiel and Mark Andreessen. Both Thiel and Andreessen are among the many Silicon Valley elite who have invested in nuclear startups in recent years. Another good indication that there won't be any of these built in the Silicon Valley or wherever it is that they're living. The investment is seeking to disrupt an industry that has remained largely unchanged for decades. Tech companies and investors are backing new designs, said Turin. They're pouring money into small nuclear reactors. These reactors are designed to be mass-produced and co-located with data centers directly powering the sites. So that means I'm getting one in my neighborhood. By one estimate, more than $6 billion in private equity, venture capital, and public investments have gone into reactor development in recent years. The money has led to, quote, dozens and dozens of new companies, Torin said. And I wonder whether this article is going to mention it, but here would be a good place to bring up the weird, otherwise random fact that I saw mentioned somewhere along the line, and we'll try and dig it up, that Trump's crypto company and or the various subsidiaries of it are making some sort of nuclear development play as well. So, you know, the Trump emolument scheme of the last year or so apparently is looking to multiply the billions of dollars they've been siphoning off and putting in their own pockets by investing in some of this garbage too. And lo and behold, he's also going to clear regulation out of the way of it so that he can make that money even faster. Sure. Hi, everybody. It's me, David, still your host for the Kagro in the Morning Show after all these years. Thank you for all your continuing support for the show. And if you're listening regularly and still thinking about getting on board as a supporter, well, the time is now. Patreon.com is the easiest way to make recurring subscription-style payments every month, all year round, to keep us going. patreon.com/KagroX brings you to our page where you can sign up with your monthly support. And hey, have you seen our clever new subscription tiers? It's easier than ever to sign up for, say, one crisp $1 bill for every information-packed 2-hour show. If you're the plan ahead type, there's even a year-long subscription program that saves you 15% on the cover price. Or it would if there was a cover price, or even a cover, for that matter. patreon.com/KAGROX. Thanks again for all your support. All right, welcome back to today's last segment, the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Let's try and cram the rest of this in there. It's getting a little crazy, but where do we leave off? I think I scrolled down a little bit here. But I did mention as we were heading out into the break that there's this odd bridge here that Trump's crypto plays, both with World Liberty Financial and elsewhere, apparently also getting into the act of putting backing money behind some sort of nuclear power development. Although I did see somewhere that he was floating the idea that, what we're investing in is experimental fusion reactors, which everybody's been, chasing after for decades at this point. But I don't know where they are in that development, but I'm sure he's also getting involved in the play with your traditional fission, but now I guess smaller scale reactors as well. But apparently both here in the United States and abroad. And I guess the connecting tissue there is said to be, we'd like to siphon off all of the power produced by one of these nuclear plants and use it to mine crypto. Presumably Bitcoin, but maybe some other things too. I don't know is mining a thing you do with Trump coin and these sorts of stable coins, or is it just something else? I don't really even know. But surely it requires lots of energy and all of that. But I know that lots of energy was going into mining Bitcoin, solving the algorithmic puzzles that would entitle you to mint your own Bitcoin and get it, quote unquote, for free, except for the millions that you spend on building the infrastructure to do the mining. But yeah, so now the proposal is we want to build a mini nuclear reactor of our own and then use all the power to do the Bitcoin mining. This is not great. We should not be spending our time or resources on that. Anyway, jumping back to the NPR article, as those companies prepare to test their designs, the ones investing in these schemes, their path is now being helped by the executive order Trump signed on the day he met with the nation's nuclear executives. This is a sort of corruption that is ordinarily slowed down by having to pass these things through Congress. And it requires bribing hundreds of them with lobbying and all the various nonsense that goes along with it in order to get them to pass the bill, rather than just leaving it up to one guy who just says, give all the bribe money to me. The order explicitly placed oversight of commercial test reactors with the Energy Department, and it required Energy Secretary Chris Wright to, quote, approve at least 3 reactors pursuant to this pilot program with the goal of achieving criticality. Serious. That's a serious term of art there. Criticality in each of the 3 reactors by July 4th, 2026. Well, this past June, with the deadline for building 3 new reactors looming a little over a year away, Energy Department officials in charge of the reactor pilot program met with the heads of companies in Washington, D.C. Right from the start, it was clear that unlike the slow and deliberate safety culture that has dominated nuclear power for decades, maybe with reason, this new program would be all about speed. Great. Our job is to make sure that the government is no longer a barrier, said Seth Cohen, a lawyer at the Department of Energy responsible for implementing Trump's executive orders. Cohen said the officials responsible for overseeing safety would do, quote, whatever we need to ensure that the government is not stopping you from reaching, and they put in brackets here, nuclear criticality on or before July 4th, 2026. But at least the lawyers are in charge. Lawyers are smart people. They should be able to make the decisions based on, the safety of nuclear physics, which I'm sure they will. Other than, I was told to meet the deadline. We're going to meet the deadline. That's the way I look at it. Well, under normal circumstances, you would say, surely the president means for you to meet the deadline safely. But this is Trump, so maybe not. Okay, what's up next? A new regulator. Before the executive order, the Energy Department did not regulate the safety of commercial nuclear reactors. That was the job of the NRC. The commission, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, was set up in 1975 by Congress as an independent safety watchdog. But who the hell cares about independent anything now? But that's according to Allison McFarland. You remember her, the former NRC chair under Obama, who's now teaching in British Columbia. Part of the reason the NRC was formed was because the predecessor to the DOE, Department of Energy, known as the Atomic Energy Commission, oversaw both safety and promotion of nuclear power at the same time. This was a very strong conflict of interest, McFarland said. But in recent years, companies, particularly those trying to build new kinds of reactors, had become frustrated with the NRC. McFarland said the promoters of these small modular reactors were becoming very vociferous about the NRC being the problem, she said. In 2022, the NRC rejected a combined license application for Oklo, O-K-L-O. It's a new nuclear startup. Oklo had submitted an application to build and operate its small reactor called the Aurora Powerhouse, but the NRC denied the application because it contained, quote, significant information gaps in its description of Aurora's potential accidents, as well as its classification of safety systems and components. Like, you kind of have to not have gaps in that. Like if I were designing a system whereby I would feel safe building one of these things. Oklo was told it could resubmit its application to the NRC, but it never did. Then, at the May signing of the executive order, Oklo's CEO, Jacob DeWitt, appeared behind President Trump applauding the new nuclear program at DOE. Changing the permitting dynamics is going to help things move faster, DeWitt said to the president. It's never been more exciting or more dangerous. Oklo had another connection to the Energy Department. The Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, was a member of Oklo's board of directors until he took the helm at DOE. I mean, and that's the normal course of things. I mean, not only that there would be the revolving door, but you would move to DOE and then resign from the board. Although I would ask in this case, check that out. Make sure it really happened. Because it could be in this administration that you just say, well, people expect that to happen and they'll make a big stink if you don't. So say that you did. Whether you do or you don't, I need you to say that you did. Anyway, Wright, it says, it's linked here, stepped down following his confirmation in February. So I assume that links to a verifiable source. Guess what? I mean, normally we brush past these things, but this is the Trump administration. What is the linked document that says he stepped down? Well, as it happens, it is an Oklo website news release. Oklo announces board transition following Chris Wright's confirmation as Secretary of Energy. So they are saying that they're complying with those anti-conflict of interest laws. Now it's just a question of, is Oklo telling the truth, or are they just saying what is expected so that people don't ask any more questions? Again, you're supposed to be able to rely on this. It used to be you would say, come on. It says right here, you want proof that he stepped down? Here's the press release from the company announcing that he stepped down. We're stuck now having to say, I guess that's all we're going to get. And it might be ridiculous. It might still, despite it all, be ridiculous to doubt that he has left. But here we are. We do have to doubt that he's left. Oklo was told, we already did this one. Okay, so allegedly he stepped down in February. In August, a little over a month after that initial meeting between industry executives and the DOE, the Office of Nuclear Energy announced 11 advanced reactor projects that had been selected for the reactor pilot program. 3 of Oklo's reactors were part of this new pilot program, including a test version of the reactor design rejected by the NRC. Okay, so they got what they wanted out of that move. Bonita Chester, a spokesperson for Oklo, said the company had won its awards through DOE's open competitive opportunities. It doesn't say competitive bidding, but okay. It had already been working with the department for several years, in part because the government had operated a reactor similar to the design Oklo was pursuing. Oklo had been working on additional safety analyses required by the DOE, and moreover, Chester said in an email to NPR, the company intends to complete an NRC licensing process for operation of its first Aurora reactor just as soon as it's built. We've continued safety and accident analyses continuously before, during, and after 2022, she said. Okay, last section, I think here, hopes and fears. Other supporters of the DOE's new reactor pilot program say the NRC was never equipped to review the type of advanced reactors many of the latest nuclear startups hope to build. The NRC is not built for R&D, said Isaiah Thomas of Valar Atomics. R&D has to be done in the real world. You actually have to turn reactors on. Okay. Valar's design looks far different from the reactors that are running today. It will use a special type of fuel. Oh boy. Together with a high temperature gas to generate heat and electricity. Taylor said gathering real data will speed development and increase safety over the long term. And it's the short term we're worried about. Innovation drives safety, he said. Oh, that's interesting, because safety, it is always said when they are coming to the regulators, is getting in the way of the innovation. Valar is also party to a lawsuit against the NRC, arguing the commission does not have the authority to regulate small reactors. That seems like a familiar play. In his interview, Taylor told NPR the company intends to file for an NRC license, quote, when we're ready. But in the meantime, we'll sue them. Government labs run by the DOE have built experimental nuclear reactors for decades, and the agency has an established program for reviewing safety, added Jordan Bramble, the CEO of Antares, a nuclear startup. I don't know if it's small. That might be a mistake. That hopes to build microreactors, so maybe they are small, for space and military applications. We believe that licensing through a DOE pathway is absolutely the best way to build prototype reactors, and you absolutely have to build prototype reactors before you build commercial reactors, Bramble said. Both Valar and Antares said they intend to have their test reactors running by the July 4th deadline. Safety remains paramount as we expedite the process, the DOE said in its email. In a separate statement, the NRC said it had detailed a dozen staff. Not they detailed in a memo why they hate it. They detailed a dozen staff, right, to the program to help with the reviews. But critics question whether the pilot programs will really produce safe nuclear reactors. The July 4th deadline puts enormous pressure on the program, said Heidi Kloff. It's K-H-L-A-A-F. I bet you wouldn't have guessed that. And by the way, Heidi is H-E-I-D-Y. A lot going on here. Heidi Klaff, the chief AI scientist at the AI Now Institute. What? Which recently published a report warning that AI development could undermine nuclear safety. Oh no. I think these manufactured timelines are actually incredibly concerning, Klaff said. There's no timeline for assessing a new design and making sure it's safe, especially something we haven't seen before. Oh, well, that's not a big deal. Then there's the questionable public transparency. The NRC makes many of the documents around its decisions available publicly. It also frequently allows the public to comment as well, added Edwin Lyman, director of nuclear power safety at the nonprofit Union of Concerned Scientists. That's kind of the gold standard I was looking for there. The new pilot program is far more opaque and, quote, is really an attempt to subvert the laws and regulations that go around commercial nuclear power, he said. While many of the test reactors are small and tout themselves as inherently safer than existing nuclear power plants, they are still capable of leaking radiation in an accident, Lyman noted, if they are located closer to populated areas. If there aren't any provisions for off-site radiological emergency planning, then you are potentially putting the public at greater risk, even if the reactors are small, he said. It's just a small nuclear release, that's all. Perhaps most worrying, said former NRC Chair McFarland, is how the DOE's safety assessment might be used to build more small reactors across the country once the pilot reactors are built. I guess if the pilot ones haven't blown up by the time they decide whether or not to permit the rest of them, they'll just say, there you go, permit the rest of them. While the NRC remains the body in charge of licensing reactors for commercial purposes, a recent memorandum of understanding between the NRC and the DOE called on the commission to establish, quote, an expedited pathway to approve advanced reactor designs that have been authorized and tested by DOE. In other words, once the DOE has approved a pilot reactor, the NRC now has to use its own speeded up process for approving the commercial version. In its email to NPR, the DOE said, safety standards will be upheld and maintained as the top priority, regardless of which regulatory body is utilized for authorization or licensing. The NRC said in its statement it was prepared to accept the DOE's findings. They were told to. Assuming the safety analysis is sound, I don't know why you're going to do that, the NRC will build on that work, not repeat it when it undertakes commercial licensing. But McFarland is unconvinced. She said, relying on the hasty DOE analysis for the construction of potentially dozens or even hundreds of small reactors around the U.S. is the real risk. They can look at what the DOE did. They can take it as a piece of input, but they have to do their own separate analysis, she warned. Otherwise, none of us are safe. And that's a good point. And by the way, if you successfully and safely build one small reactor, does it mean you can safely build and operate 100 small reactors? No. The scale is very much different. And how many trained individuals does it take to safely run a small reactor? I don't know. How many does it take to run hundreds of such reactors? Hundreds of times, whatever that number is. And, well, let's say we decide to staff these small reactors the way we've staffed ICE and Border Patrol lately. Does that mean that you're not going to have small nuclear explosions releasing radioactive material in hundreds of neighborhoods around the country? Not by itself, it doesn't. But I don't know what to tell you. Now, all of that is very concerning. I agree. But Jenny Cohen's not done. Remember, she's the one who just 24 hours or so ago pointed to this article and said, Trump's going to fast track this stuff, and that's worrisome for its own reasons. And was there a thread that went with that? Does she say more? Yes, it is a thread. So yesterday she was pointing out, I found the article that she just sent us to and we just read because it includes a quote from Isaiah Taylor of Valar Atomics, one of the Gundo bros. Gundo Bros. I don't think I even know what that is. Who attends a church tied to Christian nationalist pastor Doug Wilson. Now, this seems like we're getting pretty far afield here, but I guess she recognized Isaiah Taylor's name. And here, she's pointing to one of her own posts on Blue Sky from 5 months ago, saying Isaiah Taylor is one of the Gundo Bros who attend a church in the CREC. I don't know what that is, but it's the denomination founded by, quote, Christian nationalist pastor Doug Wilson. Pete Hegseth attends a CREC church too. Does this mean anything? I don't know yet. Taylor's company, Valar Atomics, just got a contract with the Department of Energy to build nuclear reactors. It was of some interest to her. The third item in this thread from yesterday is a pointer to one of her old posts from 5 months ago. Link to post 1 at x.com from Isaiah Taylor saying Valar Atomics is honored to announce that we've been selected by the Department of Energy. So, okay, there's that. Her next post on Blue Sky from yesterday, another of her 5-month-old threads. This is the real game. Who gets to own space logistics? Who gets to own the weather? Who gets to own energy? Think bigger. That is Gundo Bro Isaiah Taylor making those weird statements. What might that mean? Again, not fully clear to me. Another entry in her yesterday thread, this one pointing to something from 9 months ago. In October, during Peter Thiel's Hereticon, I guess you might say, event, Michael Gibson of the 1517 Fund, it notes parenthetically, thanked Gundo Bros Augustus Dorico, the founder of Rainmaker, and Isaiah Taylor, founder of Valar Atomics, in connection with the screening of a first cut of a film called Fully Kinetic, The New Arsenal of Democracy. And I don't know what that exactly means, but it's got a picture of a, field cannon of some kind and a nuclear mushroom cloud explosion off in the distance. I guess we ought to find out what that means. She's also pointing to something about Augustus Dorico, former Thiel fellow with a cloud seeding startup in El Segundo, the weather part of this. So basically there's a lot of weirdos, and they are very weird looking people, quite honestly, and weird sounding, in this orbit. But untangling this, I feel like we're going all over the place. Anyway, yesterday she was recalling all sorts of old posts of hers about who these people are, and today she attaches it to a tweet that says Valar Atomics, founded by Isaiah Taylor, is one of the companies building a nuclear reactor for this project with a July 4th deadline. Valar is backed as well by Day One Ventures, which was founded by another name I don't recognize, but look out, Masha Bucher, or Bucher? Bucher, Masha Bucher, who I guess previously went by the name Masha Drakova, a Russian-born investor, and that always makes us worried, living in the U.S., who represented Jeffrey Epstein. What? I thought we were not doing any Jeffrey Epstein. I wasn't trying to avoid Jeffrey Epstein today, but it wasn't the plan. What's that about? I don't know, but here are two... here's a picture of Isaiah Taylor, who is doing the startup thing in a black T-shirt, crossing his arms in front of a giant American flag, looking like a tech bro. And then a screenshot of a Masha Bucher post. I don't know what it has to do with anything. Like, okay, Jeffrey Epstein, that's worrisome and all. But now she's posted, I guess this is what she does with her time. This is an August 29th, 2024 post. Looks like it's from X. The comment here is just this time of year, and it is a selfie that she takes of herself. I don't know where she is in this. I guess it's at home, taking a selfie of herself, essentially in some weird lingerie getup. So she's one of those, weirdly sexualized blonde Russian American venture capitalist women that they just have running around all over the place. I don't really care that you're into that, although, it's just a little bit weird. And then you're going to throw the Jeffrey Epstein thing in there because there's another shot of her from November of 2024. Again, the comment, office night. I don't know what that means. And again, it's a selfie of herself in some weird lingerie. I don't know. I just find that weird. And then another thing from her, also 11/17/25, tweeting out nuclear startup to achieve criticality. So she's finally gotten back to the work aspect of things versus using the same same account to tweet out lingerie selfies of herself. So it doesn't really draw the line between work and personal business all that well. There's another one of her talking about last night we celebrated the dawn of a new renaissance, co-hosted in El Segundo, the epicenter of techno-industrialists with Dorico and Taylor. We merged the critical fine arts with critical infrastructure. Not sure what that's supposed to mean, but pictures of herself with some strange avant-garde art and also provocatively dressed, though not lingerie this time. In other words, this is a real weirdo that we're really going to have to look into. Jenny Cohn, at this point, finally points us to an article here. 3 women close to Epstein, Masha Bucher, her sister Victoria Drakova, and model-turned-entrepreneur Lana Pozhadeva. So 3 strangely sexualized Russian-American venture capitalist women come together with Epstein for some strange reason to build venture capital empires in Silicon Valley while maintaining hidden financial ties to Russian oligarchs, documents obtained by Byline Times show. So here's their pictures, and then they throw in a little Jeffrey Epstein and a little Vladimir Putin by way of explanation. So looks like we're going to have some time set over it, but it's going to have to be some other day for the Byline Times article, Inside Epstein's Russian Tech Web, how oligarch cash and 3 women connected Moscow to Silicon Valley. Well, probably in the same way they connected Moscow to Trump's Washington, D.C. as well, and even prior to Trump landing in Washington, D.C. the first time, with the weirdo Russian honey traps that they've set out for everybody. Okay. Just saying, there's a lot of weirdos involved in this stuff, and one of them I'm beginning to recognize. In fact, that is Masha Drakova, now Masha Bucher, in the various photo montages here that put all these guys together. All right, so I'm just saying, worry about insufficiently tested and insufficiently safe nuclear reactors popping up all over the place, and it all being somehow connected to Russia, Russian honey traps, Jeffrey Epstein, who loves falling for honey traps and in fact loves setting honey traps as well. And I don't know what else to say, except that we'll hearken even further back to things we read now that come to mind from the first Trump administration that we were wondering how it was going to play out and what they were even trying to do this with. Do you remember when we were talking about the Trump executive orders in the first administration that would allow the transfer of critical, previously protected as state or national security secrets and national security material, transferring the nuclear technology to various, let's say Middle Eastern regimes that treat Trump like a neo-royalist and give him airplanes and allow him to build fortified Trump mansions in Riyadh and golf courses and hotels and et cetera, and that they were very interested in having nuclear technology, which also was weird given that they're sort of built on having almost unlimited oil resources. What are they needed for? Well, we need to generate more power here in our country. Well, why is that if you are sitting on a giant pool of oil? And the answer is we don't need the power to build cities. We need the power to build crypto mining in order to continue to invest in your crypto mining and give billions of dollars to Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and his kids. And by the way, what business is it that Steve Witkoff's kids are in? Oh yeah, it's World Liberty Financial. It all begins to sort of feel like maybe it is part of one giant plan. And I guess if you weren't satisfied that you were a conspiracy theory nut by thinking that maybe they did in fact recruit some Proud Boys, or maybe even all of the Proud Boys, into ICE with the promise of $50,000 bonuses, et cetera, well, now you can feel like you're a conspiracy nut for thinking that all of the stories you've been reading for years now about the weird connection between Jared Kushner and Donald Trump and Middle Eastern dictators and their interest all of a sudden in nuclear power. And by the way, we're getting 100 new nuclear power plants by July 4th or whatever. And something cryptocurrency and something bribery and golly gee whiz. Either you're a nut or you're just beginning to see enough circumstantial evidence to think that, well, it wouldn't be hard to convince you, I'm sure, at this point, that Trump is massively corrupt and has no interest in the safety of the American people. And I guess if he turns this into a vast nuclear wasteland by blowing up a number of these reactors, he can always repair to Riyadh, although as it turns out they may be building nuclear reactors there too. So I don't know. There's nothing you can gain out of this. All right. Time to wrap up for today. I can't believe it. And by the way, speaking of those $50,000 bonuses, I should mention that the word is that you have to stay on board with ICE or whatever agency you sign on with for 5 years before you actually vest in that bonus. I don't know if they were making that clear to people. And by the way, I would assume that the day before you become vested in that money, if you're thinking of trying to claim it, that's the day you're going to be arrested and deported, and you won't be around to collect the money. I would never assume you'll get paid by Donald Trump.
NetworksRadio.com. You have been listening to Kagro in the Morning with David Waldman.
Time now for you to listen to Justice Putnam in the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and that comes up next. Guess what? A new viral video is making even MAGA turn against ICE. Let's find out which one that is. And let's see. A website dedicated to naming ICE and Border Patrol goons is coming under prolonged and sophisticated cyber attack from Russia. Who would have guessed?